NBA draft tonight. Cleveland Cavaliers picking number one. I've seen about a half dozen mock drafts, and I think you could make that every one has a different guy going number one overall. Our guest right now is a great friend of the program, Sam Amico, Fox Sports Ohio, joining us. And, Sam, you've got somebody that we haven't talked about a whole lot in the number one in your mock draft, and that's Alex Len. Do you think that that's the best pick for the Cavs, or do you think that's the way they're going to go?
I think it's probably at this point the way they're going to go, although it's, I've heard reports of it being down to Alex Len and Nerlens Noel, and I've heard from sources today saying it's down to Alex Len or Ben McLemore, the Kansas shooting guard. So, and I can tell you at 11:30 a.m. they were still meeting to decide who they were going to pick.
Sam, that tells me that they are, how should I say, they've now accepted the fact they're not getting out of number one. Is that how you feel about it?
Not entirely. They would like to move out of that spot. In order to do that, from what I've heard, they're going to have to lower their demands on what they want in return. So it's potentially still could be traded. My guess is, though, they're going to end up using it, and not necessarily by choice, but I think that's just the way it's going to unfold, is that they'll end up using that pick.
Sam, you have Len going one. Your thoughts on him? I'm not at all sold on him. I also, with the makeup of their roster, with having the three bigs already on the roster, I don't know why they would feel the need to add a fourth, and I could feel that way about Noel and Len. When you've looked at him and when you look at their roster, if they do go that way, what are they getting with him? And furthermore, what do they do then with the roster, having four guys 6'10" or better that are all similar? I know Len's got a little more offensive gifts than some of the other guys, but how did that all shake out?
Well, first of all, I know they feel you can't ever have enough bigs. Now, like you said, those guys are pretty similar, with Tristan Thompson and Tyler Zeller and Anderson Varejao already there. But keep in mind that this draft is only going to be part of what they hope to do this summer. So there'd be potential for them to possibly move one of those other guys come next week in the free agency period, which is just going to be the craziness of this draft all over again. So I think if they did decide to go with Alex Len, it would mean, one of those other guys is probably getting moved so that they can fill another need with a veteran, probably small forward, or a swing guy off the bench. But, the one thing I know that they like about Len is he obviously his size. He's okay coming around offensively. He's not there by any stretch as far as the NBA game goes. But the comparisons have been made as Adrunas Ilgauskas. That's a guy Cavs fans can relate to get a picture of what Len might be like at some point. And he's probably more athletic than Ilgauskas too, but he has similar skills. He's a very good passer for a big guy and for a center. He looks to pass, and I know that the Cavs think he suffered a little bit. His numbers, he only put up 12.7 rebounds at Maryland, and I know that the Cavs think part of that those numbers were low, believe it or not, because of poor guard play. So they think he has a high ceiling. I don't know that they think he has superstar potential by any stretch, but I think they think he has a high ceiling and will be a good center in the league for a long time.
Yeah, Sam, it's hard for me to imagine a guy – it'd have to be one of the first times in NBA history – I mean, I'm spitballing here – that a guy who wasn't even first or second team all-conference went number one overall in the NBA draft. So, I mean, it would seem to be a reach to me, but, obviously they're doing their due diligence and feel strongly about it. You mentioned about the bigger picture here. All right, we wake up a month from now. What is the dream scenario for what this roster looks like? If you're Chris Grant, you can do anything you want. You get everybody you want within reason. What's the dream scenario a month from now?
Well, assuming they take Len, if they were to do that, I think ideally they would want to get a veteran small forward whose contract is expiring at the end of the season, so that they, can help themselves on make a playoff push, as well as not, kill themselves as far as their quote-unquote assets go and their financial flexibility goes under the salary cap. So, there's been talk about Sean Marion from Dallas, kind of these stopgap small forwards. There had been talk about Paul Pierce from Boston. Those talks seem to have died, but somebody along those lines. There had also been talk about Derek Williams from Minnesota. While not a true small forward, is somebody you could grow with this young core of Kyrie Irving and Deion Waiters and Tristan Thompson. So ideally, I think that's going to be their priority, is getting a small forward in here. I wouldn't be surprised if they went big in free agency too. Mike Brown and the front office are big fans of Earl Clark, who was with Brown, during his stint with the Lakers. So ideally, they're going to find themselves a veteran small forward, as well as they want another dynamic wing player on top of that, whether that's through the draft and Ben McLemore, or whether it's through a trade. So, and again, they're going to add one more big. The one thing about having 4 or 5 bigs that they're going to consider is that Anderson Varejao has spent so much of the last 3 seasons injured. So you have to factor that in. And they're going to have to go out and get a backup point guard as well.
Well, yeah, and they can probably do that later for sure. Sam Amico, Fox Sports Ohio, joining us here at Bishop and Rothman, 97.1 The Fan. So you've got Alex Len as your number 1 in the mock draft, and I'm thinking that if that name gets called, how does Cav fan base respond? Like, what are the Cavs fans, what are you hearing up there? Who do they want? Because they always seem to lean, Sam, when you ask fans, they usually lean towards best athlete, most exciting, star potential. Fans don't usually worry about fit and roster and all that. Who do the fans want?
It sounds to me most of them want Nerlens Noel. They're kind of going back and forth on Noel and McLemore, and those are the 2 guys that you just described, which are, very exciting, look like they have superstar potential, great athletes, and I think fans would like that. Now, I don't think Noel's out of the running necessarily. I do know for a fact when they took Kyrie Irving after he had been injured his entire career at Duke, or very short career at Duke, the injury concerns weren't as great then to the Cavs as Noel's knee injury is now. And I know they're very hesitant and quite a bit concerned with that. I mean, his projection is that he'll be able to come back in December. Some people have said it might be January, and then after that he has to adapt to the NBA game. So I think they're going to take a pass on him. I'm not 100% certain. I would say it's probably 50%, but you're right. He's got that dynamic upside, superstar potential that fans and even the media it really gets caught up in. But I put it this way: of the 3 guys, Len, McLemore, or Noel, if they pick Noel out of those 3, it would be the biggest surprise to me.
Sam Amico, nobody does it better than you. We appreciate you. Great follow on Twitter at Sam Amico, FSO. Thanks for the time, bud. Big day for you, and we appreciate you jumping on with us.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me, and take care.